Alright guys, Scrappy again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. As big Rostermania rumours were being discussed earlier on today, it seems Scrappy and Standy are still going to be beefing on top priority going into next season, with ZooMaa saying that if Scrappy had decided to keep Standy around, Toronto would still have been very good in the latter half of last season. Scrappy absolutely disagrees and says that getting rid of Standy was absolutely necessary if they wanted to win anything at Toronto last year. How good will these two respective teams be? Very much interested your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I would greatly appreciate it. So many movement kids about at the moment. I don't know why this has become so much of a thing, because it's quite obvious that this playstyle is far from, well, it's not exactly optimal, is it? You don't see anyone actually good running around doing this, but I guess it gets the Twitter impressions, I suppose, and as Afro says, convince anyone who plays like this is trolling. There's no way they're serious, just NPCs within the simulation. Now, there was some drama really going on between various communities as the Modern Warfare 3 beta has come to a close. Lots of talk about positives, negatives. Is the game going to be any good? Is the game going to be terrible? You guys can give your thoughts on that. What I did find interesting, though, is that there were many posts on the more casual subreddits that were not happy with the game in various ways. And usually when this happens, it tends to be quite a good sign. I will say that a lot of these posts, the comments were kind of clowning on these posts and were actually generally agreeing with the perceptions of what is a more competitive community. But as Keshav says here from Charlie Intel, the Modern Warfare 3 Reddit is complaining about every aspect of the game. The time to kill is too long, apparently, movements too fast, etc, etc. So I think COD is officially back, right? Because, yeah, when the casuals, the real casual players really love the game, that's not necessarily the best sign. I wish we lived in a world where everyone could get on in harmony and there was no issues with this, and, you know, we could have a game that both competitive and casual players enjoyed. It doesn't always tend to be the case. You get a post like this, which I thought was hilarious, from this guy Hambone721, and I could just tell that this was the type of guy that, like, when MW3 came out and the footsteps were so loud and there were no, you know, red dots disappeared, and they made all the changes over the last couple of years to help the unskilled player get more kills on players that actually run around and are good, and I'm sure that he was one of the people at the time saying, oh, you've just got to adapt, you know, just adapt, bro, like, you know, I'm going to set up here with my LMG, and if you come running in, that's realism, baby. But now it's time for these guys to adapt, you know, because as he says, it's footstep audio is horrible. I'm being killed routinely by people who are totally and completely silent. Oh, it's beautiful. Sprinting upstairs, through doors, on metal above me, you name it. Absolutely no sound cues that anyone is near. It's as bad as it's ever been. I'm very disappointed. So, yeah, you gotta love it. Seems like the time has come for some of these, you know, players to learn what real map awareness is, and actually, you know, real map awareness can reward you rather than just cranking that headset up and hearing absolutely everything that Infinity Ward have tried to make happen over the last few years. Now, let's talk about the Stallion Showdown. $10,000 Call of Duty, well, Cold War tournament, right, throwback tournament. This was meant to be happening a while ago. Then either the sponsor fell through, or they got a new one, or something happened anyway, wanted to do a different date. So it got delayed until the 21st. I think ZooMaa's going to be in Vegas there for, is it TwitchCon, or I forget exactly what's going on there at that time. But anyway, ZooMaa's going to be there, and there's a 10k tournament going on at the same time. So pretty cool stuff. And these are some of the rosters. Now, I don't know so much about roster number 8 because we'll see on that one. But again, there are some familiar names and familiar rosters that we are seeing here. Of course, the names are very familiar, but the rosters are interesting enough. Now, this roster 4, actually, I mentioned this team earlier today, right, or a very similar team to this. It was at the time Gunless Octane Looney Priestahh was the team of 4 on Seattle Surge. But yeah, then I guess Classic came in, didn't he, at the end of the season, because he was on Seattle when they knocked out a lad to FaZe. So that's a pretty cool throwback there to see that Seattle-esque roster from the Cold War season come back in business here, because, you know, when Simp plays up against these guys, I'm sure he's going to have some flashbacks, maybe aBeZy as well. So Drazah, Illy, Decimate, Prolute, that's been a team that's going around, especially in some of these throwback tournaments. That's a nice one. Then this team, Dashy, Scrappy, CleanX, Tej. So again, Dashy and Scrappy teaming up. We see this quite a lot lately. Of course, Scrap and CleanX as well. There's no way in hell you're ever going to see Scrappy and Standy on the same team again, and we'll see that's exactly why in a couple of minutes' time. But yeah, that team is pretty nice. Then team number 3 is, I mean, it's that Subliners x FaZe-esque team. this team is going to be so deadly. I mean, Cellium and Simp on Cold War, unbelievable. Then you've got HyDra. Now, HyDra is going to play from France. Now, this doesn't mean HyDra, oh, he's from France, like he's born in France. This means he's playing from France. I imagine at least, unless HyDra just wanted to clarify that he's French. I'm pretty sure he means that he's back home in Europe and he's going to play remotely, I guess. I guess everyone's playing remotely. HyDra will still probably fry on high ping, but it's not going to be ideal. And Skyz as well. So, yeah, that team 3 is, I would say that team is the favourites, but if HyDra's playing from France, you've got to think that there's some disadvantage there. So then you're probably looking at, I mean, the aBeZy Shotzzy +2 team is going to be kind of nice. Snoopy +3, Methods, and then apparently JurNii 1v4. So, yeah, those are the teams in only a few days' time at this point for them to get this locked down. There's also going to be some sort of other tournament, actually, as Parasite says, captain so far for the Parasite and ZooMaa $2,000 plus subscriber draft tournament. So yeah, these are the guys getting involved in that. Pretty cool stuff. Tag any challenger players you want to see. 16 total, etc, etc. You know the vibe. Now let's talk about some of the drama here between Scrappy and Standy. It was a big talking point of this most recent season. They, to be honest, they were kind of like a duo. I think back in the challengers days, in the early days, they used to play together and stuff several years ago. But as soon as the CDL stuff happens, things started to change somewhat, and Scrappy and Standy started out the season on Toronto Ultra. It was looking all good. CleanX, Insight, Scrappy, Standy, nice team on paper, and they were looking nice, no doubt. They were making progress, seemed like they were in a good spot to potentially win something. The team looked nice on paper, but quite quickly, things began to collapse in the team, and it wasn't that far into the season when Standy got dropped. The clip came out where Scrappy said that, you know, yeah, good riddance to this guy, like, I'm not going to miss him not being here, all this type of stuff. And Scrappy was, you know, because often when players are dropped, the players that maybe wanted them dropped don't necessarily comment on it. They'll either say, oh, well, it was a team decision, or like the coach will do it or something. But Scrap was very clear that he was at least part of the reason why Standy was dropped. Maybe the entire team and the coaches also agreed, but Scrappy was very clear that he was also on the warpath to get this guy gone. And, you know, there was obviously this Twitter thread at the time where Standy said that, you know, I was trying to do X, Y, Z. Scrappy then came up with this minimap view of him making a questionable play. I'm guessing he's number 8 on the minimap here, kind of going the wrong way, trying to go for this rap that didn't really help the team. And then Standy, of course, apologized, but I think they lost this league match to Boston, and Standy made that one play that kind of cost them the map here on this, what was this called again? Fortress. God, what a terrible map, and with this control, of course. So yeah, he cost them this win in this occasion, and that was enough for them to say, all right, you've got to go. You got dropped because you're the most selfish player, not because I have a good connection with Charlie. I hear dumb stuff from you all the time. So I think these tweets got deleted. I imagine that they probably did. Now, last night, there was lots to talk about the new rosters. Standy's new roster. We know Scrappy's new roster, of course. I mean, it's basically the same, but with no Hixie and with Envoy instead. I mean, they've gone from Standy in that role, they've gone to Hixie in that role, now they've gone to Envoy in that role. It's a nice progression, I think, that they've made over the last season or so, and, well, is it going to step them up even further? CleanX, Insight, Scrappy, Envoy. It's a phenomenal team on paper. How will they do? That remains to be seen, with other teams maybe getting better as well. But Standy is going to go, we think, to Vegas Legion. That was discussed earlier today and last night, that potentially Standy with Attach, a couple of others, maybe Purge, maybe Mac as well, head coach Phoenix, could be the roster over there. So, well, there was discussion from ZooMaa that, well, maybe Scrappy, if you didn't drop Standy, it would have been fine. You were just, you know, Standy, great player. There was no reason why he should be necessarily better or worse than Hixie in that role. So if you'd have kept him around, you'd have had the same success. Scrappy comes back in the chat and makes it very clear as far as he's concerned that is not true, and with Standy, they were not going to be winning anything at all.
I think one mistake happened. Scrappy lost his mind, started losing full. They all started yelling. Somebody said something to somebody. Attitudes were flaring. Something happened. Boom. And I don't know, bro. I don't know. Sounded like there was a whole lot of just stupid nonsense in that camp, bro. Stupid nonsense. What it sounded like. I think they would have won just fine with Standy. I mean, I still think that they would have been able to get a dub on a board and still maybe work with him. You know? Oh, here he comes. Here comes Scrappy, Cap. What do you mean, Cap? What do you mean? We ain't winning shit. You think, Scrappy, you're telling me that you wouldn't have been able to win with you, Insight, CleanX, and Standy? That's what you're telling me right now? That's what you're telling me? Is that what you're telling me, bro?
Some pretty spicy stuff, right? And let's be honest, they make the change, they get HyDra in for Standy. The first event they go to, MW3 in Texas at Esports Stadium Arlington, they win the entire thing. HyDra wins his first ever event as a player coming into the league. Remarkable stuff. And is now back in the Challenger circuit. I mean, it is what it is. It's really difficult for HyDra. I understand why they made the change they did at the end of the season. But yeah, players like HyDra and the role that he plays just never get any respect, despite the fact that Scrappy knows that HyDra was a valuable asset, brought him in, did exactly what he needed to do for the team, and they were really good. They won the event at MW3. They were still very good through the end of the season. They were close to winning champs, but of course then they got bodied in the finals 5-0, but still second at champs, win an event at MW3. Can't really shake your head at that kind of season-long performance. Would they have achieved the same results with Standy? It feels unlikely, right? I mean, clearly they made the change for a reason. HyDra and Scrappy, they obviously get on. Clearly, they were working very well as a team. So, you know, I'm inclined to agree with Scrappy that if they'd have kept Standy, it probably wouldn't have worked. Just because, well, even if the internal, like, let's say personality conflicts didn't exist, HyDra was probably a better fit in terms of roles and playstyle for that spot at that particular moment. But even then, if Scrappy had been forced by the coaching staff to keep Standy around, you know, they would have clashed. It just wouldn't have worked. So, yeah, I'm inclined to agree with Scrappy. But what this does mean is that, well, the rivalry is going to continue, right? Like, there's no way it's going to go away. Even at the end of last season, it was still a big talking point. Back in May here, when I think Scrappy had a particularly bad showing, and maybe it was the final set of qualifiers before Major 5, and that gave some extra points up to a team. Maybe it was to Rocker or something like that Vegas were trying to outplace to qualify for the World Championship, and yeah, Scrappy had a bit of a bad map 5, and some people were saying, well, to be fair, like I was saying it, I was joking around, you know what I mean? But the implication was, did Scrappy deliberately, like, maybe drop a bit of a stinker so that Standy wouldn't qualify for champs? Because that was, you know, they were still going at it throughout the rest of the season, and that doesn't seem to be going away. The reality is, Standy on Vegas Legion, are they going to be a contender with Toronto? Because Toronto should be a contender for top 4, if not winning championships. Vegas are not going to be, you would think, in that category. So, you know, again, it's like when Scrappy plays Standy, is it going to be a one-sided affair? Because good rivalries, always there's a back and forth, right? You know, one guy beats the other guy gets his own back, stuff like this. Might not be the case between this Toronto and Vegas situation, or this team is going to be particularly good, because I can't see Toronto being bad, but maybe Vegas are just better than, well, to be honest, I think they already look pretty good. I can see this team looking okay, like okay to good, but whether they're better than that is, of course, a debate. Just a couple of things to close out the video here with. I thought this was hilarious as we were discussing Rostermania stuff yesterday. I always try and come up with an excuse to mention this when the chance arises. So if you guys remember the COD burner that Chrome was posting about on his account originally when this was happening back in the World War II season. So the COD burner put a post on Reddit who basically said that aBeZy might join FaZe, but it could be Fugaze, right? Fugazi, it's a Wazi, you know what this means. And the reporter for Deserto, who wrote the article up about this, who was reporting on what the COD burner had said, thought that Fugaze was a player, right? So instead of it just meaning like, you know, that could be BS, they reported that it could be either aBeZy or FaZe Fugaze, right? And then this guy came up with an account that said beyond excited to be joining these guys. So yeah, just a quality moment in COD history, I'm not gonna lie. So very much intrigued to your thoughts and all this stuff in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.